So on YouTube, I've seen so many videos of people in my generation or older generations who don't have any friends. So today, I'm gonna share my story. It was in March of 2020. I got really sick a week before my birthday. This was also when COVID started to spread around my city. So I got tested for COVID at the hospital, but I didn't have it obviously. Instead, I had a bacteria that caused my hands and feet to have red spots everywhere. The disease was called hand, foot, and mouth disease, which is mostly common in children, but it can also happen to adults. I also had really bad migraines throughout the whole week. It was really bad. It honestly felt like someone was inside my brain, poking it with like a sharp object. Once I recovered from the bacteria, once I got better, I was on YouTube and I found out that Friday was gonna be the last day of school. My dad had dropped me off at school. He asked me beforehand if I wanted to stay home, but I decided to go to school since I wanted to hang out with my friends for the very last time. So since every restaurant, bar, and school was closing because of COVID, I went back to school, which was the last day I would ever be inside of my high school, which is honestly just crazy to think about that the pandemic pretty much shut everything down. I mean, I only got to experience like high school for only like 2 years and a half. So basically March of 2020 was the last time I was ever going to be inside of it, which I was kind of happy about because I didn't have to go to school and I could just stay at home and do whatever the fuck I wanted while I was in class. Also, since this was on a Friday, we were gonna get out early, so the day was gonna go by pretty fast. Once I arrived at gym class, I thought my friends were gonna ask me what had happened since I was gone for so long. I had a few classes with some of my friends, but during gym class, we all had the same class. Instead, my friends just ignored me and didn't ask me why I was gone for a very long time. So I just sat on the bleachers very angry that they didn't even talk or acknowledge me throughout the whole period, not even a what's up or where have you been. In that moment, I realized that my friends didn't really care or wanted to hang out with me, so I just decided to cut them off since that day. And another thing I wanted to point out was that while I was hanging out with these guys, pretty much the only thing we had in common was that we would smoke weed together. I mean, we had other things in common too, but that was like the thing that we had most in common. And I just wanted to let anyone who's in high school or, you know, in elementary school or whatever, most likely all the friends that you have from high school or elementary school, they're not gonna last long. It's just not common anymore. It was probably common back in like the fucking 80s or the 90s, but nowadays, bro, those people are not gonna, you're most likely not gonna talk to them ever again in your whole life, and you're most likely not gonna see them ever again. So just wanted to point that out. The worst part about all of this was that when the bell rang and I went to my next class, which was drama class, a girl who sat next to me who I never even really talked to at all, she asked me what had happened and if I was okay, since I'm always in class. Now, even though I was a fucking idiot back in school, like I wouldn't do any of the work, I wouldn't care, I just wouldn't pay attention at all, I was still in class every day, which I always thought was funny because people would even tell me, they're like, bro, they're like, how are you in class every day, but you still have a failing grade? I thought that was really funny, but it was true. It's just at the time I just didn't care about anything. Even when I was a kid, I didn't give a shit about school. It was just something I didn't care about. Anyways, that made me even more angry at my friends for not even approaching me during gym class. Before I went into high school, I still remember that my dad gave me advice before I entered high school. He basically told me that friends do not exist. He said a real friend will be by your side during the good times and the bad times. At the time, I didn't understand what he meant by that. But once my friends treated me the way that they did, I realized that my friends just did not give a fuck about me, or they just kind of moved on and didn't care about hanging out with me anymore. I will take some accountability though. I was kind of very quiet back in the day, so I wouldn't really say much. But even back then, even when I felt like I did have something to say, or if I did want to, you know, keep the conversation going, I always felt ignored and they just didn't respond to what I was talking to them about, or they were just on their phone. So at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what, I just might as well just stay quiet because like, what the fuck am I gonna say? They're not gonna care anyways. So yeah. During the summer of 2020 though, one of my friends hit me up on Snapchat during the summer to ask me if we had any classes together. I just ignored his message and ghosted him at the time. I did also talk to other people back then, but it didn't really last long. Like we just kind of talked about vague stuff, you know, video games, music, school, but nothing really to write home about. Fast forward though to my graduation in 2021, I didn't take any pictures with any of my friends or classmates. I just took pictures with my family and I left the stadium where we graduated. I ended up going out to eat with my family day. And I also got really drunk later that day, which, I mean, I was only 18 at the time, but I just convinced my mom to like just buy the beer for me because obviously I couldn't buy it. So I got really drunk on my graduation day and I just binge watched South Park at the time. Ever since then, I haven't tried to meet new people or form any connections or friendships with people. I just have really big trust issues since I've been ghosted and ignored so many times. This is the thing. I have tried to like, go talk to people, meet new people, or, talk to friends of friends, a stranger, or even coworkers. But with coworkers, it's like the only thing you guys have in common is that you guys work at the same job. So once you leave the job, pretty much your coworkers are not going to hit you up. They're not going to talk to you anymore, because the only thing you guys had in common in the first place was having the same job. So yeah, I tried, but nothing ever worked out. So that's how it's always been for me. So I just gave up on meeting new people. But if I ever do meet people I fuck with, then that's cool. And if I don't meet people that don't want to be friends with me, that's cool also. I don't care anymore, to be honest. Movies, TV shows, and other media have really brainwashed us into believing that high school would be a big part of our lives. But in the end, it doesn't matter. Shout out to Linkin Park. It's just something that we all have to go through in life. After I graduated, I realized high school never ended. It just keeps going, even at some workplaces. So my question is, what is the point of fitting in? You are gonna get judged or made fun of anyway. If I do ever run into one of my old friends from back then, I would probably just say what's up and wish them good luck in life. I don't hold any hate or resentment towards any of these people. I really do wish them the best. At the end of the day, we had some really good times together. When I watched Fight Club 2 years ago, it made me realize that you have to let go of the past to move forward in life. If you let the past consume you, it would make you feel like shit. It is not healthy to look back at the past and say, I should have done something different. At this point, like, I'm just gonna be alone since I've never really even had many friends to begin with. Even as a kid, I always had like a small circle of friends. They tried to introduce me to other people, but we just never connected, so it was whatever. During high school though, I just felt like I had nothing to say for the most part. And I just felt like no one else had anything really interesting to say either. I was never really that social to begin with, so far I'm just cool with being alone. That's how I've been since 2021. So it's been 5 years since I've actually like even talked to anyone at all, which is it's fucking crazy to think about because I live in a big ass city. But anyways, this experience was an eye-opener for me, and I'm glad I went to school on that day, because I was actually thinking about just not going to school since, what was the point? Everyone was gonna ditch 8th period or even earlier that same day on a Friday. So that's what I did. I fucking ditched 8th period at the time because there was no point of going to class. It's just like, why don't you just leave? It's the last day. They're not gonna care anyways. But yeah, man, this experience made me realize that I never really had any real friends throughout my whole life. I feel like technology really messed up our lives though. Everyone, including me, has social media and all this cool technology that is supposed to keep us more connected. Instead, we have a generation of young adults who are more isolated than any other generation in human history. Will things get better in the near future? I doubt it, but I still have a bit of hope that things will change for the better. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think things are gonna get better or not? I doubt it. I really do doubt it, but I still have a little bit of hope that things will get better in the future. But honestly, I'm on the other side of the coin where I just think things are gonna get worse before they get better, to be honest with you guys. Let me know if you have a similar experience like mine. Just feel free to share your story if you want to. Hope you guys enjoy, and peace out.